NSFW, what has someone done that immediately killed the mood? He started doing one-armed push-ups, then fell, and then got embarrassed and left. He said he had a meeting to go to, but it was like 2 a.m. I really want to hear the other side of this one. Sensational. Absolutely world-class. The one and only time I took a Viagra. About 30 minutes later I felt it getting thick, then my girlfriend got a message that her nan had died. That was an awkward afternoon. Edit, for all the wallopers on here saying Viagra doesn't work like that. I never said I was walking around with a throbbing sausage all day. It was awkward because it kept me on the edge for hours afterwards trying not to get horny, but the more I thought about not getting horny the more it made it a challenge. Jesus, some people think everything is fake and nothing ever happens to anyone. You weren't the only one stiff that moment. Dude, I haven't laughed that hard, haha, in a long time. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for clarifying you were laughing haha and not ho ho or foo foo. She was trying to do a sexy crawl up to me and then kneed me in the balls. Edit, this happened multiple times throughout the relationship. She was clumsy, but adorable, and my balls are okay. I'm sorry for your temporary loss. Haha, thanks. Greater than she was clumsy, but adorable. I dated one of those, but fortunately she never kneed me in the balls. It was usually more along the lines of her being in another room and I'd hear something crashing followed by, "I'm okay." It was rather endearing. Girl I was seeing had her periods. None the wiser, I set up a towel beneath her, and here we go. Mid-course, her face gets suddenly bloodied up, like insane amounts of blood. My first thought, wow, it has sprinkled all over the place, never seen that, she probably ruined my sheets. Yeah, no, that was my nose bleeding profusely on her face. I'm glad it made her laugh though, but the mood was definitely ruined. Aw, your cycles synced up. Cycle sisters. Couples that bleed together stay together, maybe? Husband and I were having sex, almost to the point of the big O. He asks me what gear I want it, speed, sometimes I like it fast, sometimes I like it slow. I moan 7, literally 2 pumps away from climaxing. He immediately stops, and says to me there are only 6 gears in a car. He was being so serious too, almost like he got mad and got off. Never got the big O. I like how the replies are criticizing him not for taking the car analogy too seriously during fucking sex but rather for not knowing about 7+ gear vehicles. Too fast, too furious. Has he never seen a Fast and Furious movie? Those cars have an infinite number of gears. She asked if she could suck everyone's dick in a party. It was me and 4 other dudes and her brother was with us. After that everything was awkward and her brother was pretty angry at her for asking it so casually. OP, what? /leaves /. Brother, wow, serious? /leaves / 3 other guys, unzip / OP, scurries from behind the curtain. Hole up, she asked everyone including her brother? My wife dressed up as Dobby for Halloween one year, and that night, she asked if I was horny in full makeup and a bald cap. You're a lucky man. It's 3:30 a.m. and I just busted out laughing in bed next to my sleeping wife when I read your comment. Thankfully she didn't wake up. Master has given Dobby a cock. Dobby's a wet-ass elf. He stopped and said I'm gonna toot, which was fine. But then it came out and legit sounded like toot and we both died laughing. We're engaged now. My girlfriend and I started out as FWB. The first time we hooked up, I stayed over at her place. The next day, we were chilling on the couch, and she gets up somewhat urgently to go to the bathroom. She closes the door, and I hear a very loud fart. Apparently she had just gone to the bathroom so she wouldn't fart in front of me, but I heard it anyway because it was so damn loud. I busted out laughing, and in response, so did she. We both say that that's when we knew this was something special. We've been together as a couple for almost 2 years and are moving in together soon. The fact that a grown-ass man said toot is frickin' hilarious. Reminds me of my 17-year-old student who asks to go potty. I bet that 17-year-old had toddler siblings. I have a 3-year-old and everyone uses the potty now. Lamau. My wife and I were having sex. I was on top just a humping away and she said stop, hold on. I said what's wrong? And she replied one of us has a booger whistling. Lamau, one of us, as if she isn't sure whose it is. Neighbor Mark had an absolutely howling booger, and he was peeking through the window. Are you kidding? This is the funniest shit I have ever heard. Was at a dorm party in college. We were all just hanging out in the dorm and laughing. Some people started throwing dares around. We all had a few beers and it was a night to remember. The one guy wasn't getting enough attention, I guess. Then he just yelled, "I dare me to jerk off right now." And he just dropped his pants, fully erect, and started whacking. The girls all just left, and us guys were all pissed at him. He went to class the next day with 2 black eyes. Orgies aren't going to start themselves. Man shot his shot. Almost shot his load. I've learned that accuracy is important in ass slapping. If you miss and hit the back of her leg, total mood killer. Some ladies might be into that. Back of the thigh is much more sensitive, so it prob hurt a lot more than she was expecting. Yeah. I went to slap my husband's ass the one time and totally whacked both balls. That's nuts. One time I gave a dude a lap dance, someone I was hooking up with, not at a club, and he got so overwhelmed he started hyperventilating. Had a full-blown panic attack with his pants off. I had to stop everything and make sure he wasn't dying. I read this as tap dance. Very different mental image and confusion about the guy's reaction to a classic cabaret art form. I'd take that as a compliment. Was having sex with my ex and a Cartoon Network show made a stupid joke that we both heard and laughed out asses off and just continued watching the show instead. You come in here telling us there was a joke good enough to interrupt sex and you're not even gonna share it with us? How rude. I don't remember what it was, tbh Lamau. It was about 6 years ago. I think it was in The Amazing World of Gumball. I'm sure I'll remember in a week when this thread is dead. Lamau. Me and a guy was having sex and he was on top, but I wanted to be, so we aggressively rolled me on top and both fell out of the bed onto the floor and we laughed so hard we cried. It was beautiful, but we didn't finish. We couldn't stop laughing. I had this happen, except my bed is really tall and so when we landed we actually cracked one of his ribs. LMFAU, I'm sorry I spat out my drink when I read this. Fingered me after having cut some jalapenos for dinner. Edit for tense, not meant as a request. Oh man. This reminded me of something that happened early on in my current relationship. We had eaten very spicy Indian food earlier in the day and then an hour or two later, I gave my so a blow job because we were horny and forgot all about the Indian food. All was fine until it wasn't. He was soon on the ground in pain and agony and I felt so bad. Thankfully, he's still marrying me next month, so it must not have been a deal breaker, but needless to say, we both learned not to combine spicy food and oral. That's how you spice things up. Bad breath, absolute chronic halitosis. I cannot deal. Went out with a dude a few nights ago and his mouth smelled like a goddamn casket pillow. Hell nah. Maybe a dead tooth. Or tonsil stones. She was on top and just started strangling me. Not in a playful way either. It was like being hate fucked by Doomfist. I dipped out shortly after. Meteor strike. Shortly after the choking or shortly after you finished? The choking. My Johnson crawled back inside of my body and hid for dear life after that. All of my dick blood returned to my brain and I was given clarity. It was time to abort the mission. Hooked up with a girl and when I pulled my homie out she said not what I'm used to, but I guess it will do. Never felt so turned off and insecure like that. I will not be spoken to like that by somebody I lowered my standards for. Damn bruh, what a bitch. You got a nice cock bro, be proud of it. This is the kind of wholesome shit the internet was made for. Had a girlfriend that wanted to try anal. We didn't try anything to prepare her. No fingers, toys plug. She grabbed some lube and just went for it on top of me. The tip had just barely poked in before she just dead ass collapsed on top of me. Like a puppet had its strings cut. From 100 to 0 instantly. Scared the fuck out of me. I freaked. I got up, laid her on her side, put my clothes on, slid her skirt on her and called 911. I was 16 and it may have been that lady's funniest phone call of her life. Just panicked words of anal penetration and unconsciousness. She woke up before the ambulance showed up and asked me if we finished. I was like, you PTFO'd. I called the hospital. Bud, you must have found her off switch. If one gets a gold medal it's this. Bend over your hotter face down. Not that he preferred how it felt or anything. Just didn't want to see my face. Wow, what an ass. I see what you did there. I'm so sorry. Bit my left nut. Instant boner killer. Take notes women, always go for the right one. Right equals bite. I said who's your daddy and she said her dad's name. Well you did ask. Good sense of humor lol. It's not it was his fault or anything, but we were going at it missionary in the middle of the night and he kept sniffling like he was crying or something. I asked what was wrong and he said he felt his nose was running way more than it should. Turned on the lights and I was covered in his nosebleed. Ended pretty quick as I was horrified and wanted a shower. I had a one-night stand with a guy who got a nosebleed all over me too. I'm pretty sure we didn't finish. Once my BF was eating me out and we thought I started my period. Nope, bloody nose. She didn't wipe very good, and when she took her underwear off there was a nickel-sized turd in her thong. It was fucking disgusting. She put it there intentionally to judge if you'd be open to scat play. It appears there are Klingons orbiting Uranus. Captain, shall we abort docking procedures? She started crying. Past trauma came out in a safe setting. We shifted to cuddling, talking, and just hanging out. I've been in that situation with a couple of partners. Instant mood shift, go to safe warm cocoon mode. You're a good person. On our honeymoon, my new husband was on top and I was using my hand on myself. He slipped out, then trussed forward again and hit my fingernails hard. There was lots of blood all over the white hotel bedding. He went to the bathroom to start cleaning the wounds and I just kept apologizing. The rest of the trip was very uncomfortable for him, especially his morning erection. It took a few weeks before he was comfortable having sex again, and now long nails are a huge turn off for him. I don't even have a penis and I physically cringed reading this, bro. Long, acrylic nails? Were they stilettos by chance? My god. Nope. They were my real nails. They were oval shaped but they were long. Oh no. Ladies, please let the person going down on you know that you have a tampon in or that you are on your period before you let them find it with their mouth. Some people might be into that, but that person would not be me. Jesus Christ, what the fuck? Sweet Joseph, my gosh. You kiss your mother with that mouth? He was inside me, actively moving, and said, "Take my seed, you buxom wench." Thanks, Reddit. Turns out that was one of the top comments on a post that day about favorite lines to use during sex. Yeah, I had guy once say, "Seriously, I'm gonna empty my nutsack into you." I still giggle about it once in a while. Like, testicles and all, huh? Were you at a Renaissance fair behind the giant turkey leg booth? Unclean butthole during doggy. The smell and sight aren't my thing. World would be a better place with more bidets. I bought one from Amazon for like $50. Best decision ever. Plumbs right into existing taps, fits onto the toilet and doesn't need power. It has 2 nozzles and adjustable pressure settings. 1 nozzle for cleaning the butt and 1 for feminine hygiene. My wife is always fresh and clean because everything is washed constantly and not just wiped. She says she has felt so much better down there and that she doesn't want to go for a wee anywhere else. It's also given her a lot of confidence to be more spontaneous as she never has to worry about her downstairs being unhygienic and wanting to have a scrub right beforehand. Honestly, 10/10, I highly recommend it. Oh man. My first girlfriend had that. Every time we had sex, doggy or reverse cowgirl, it smelled bad. Seriously turned me off both positions. I thought it always smelled like that, and everyone who had sex in those positions was just ignoring it. Asked a totally benign question about my parents that normally wouldn't be any big deal. But when asked during sex, you can guarantee the mood was completely ruined. My wife does this. We'll talk about random ass shit before I put it in. What? You can't get hard for me? Guess you don't want me. Damn woman, I did until you started talking about the dog having the shits earlier and how it was like trying to pick up soup with a plastic bag. My fiancé and I were really horny one day, but we also had a lot of shit to do. We decided to have a quickie, run our errands, and then have a less rushed session again later. As I'm balls deep inside of her, she asks if we have X item in the fridge or if we needed to get it from Costco. It should have killed the mood, but I stopped and thought for a second, told her no, and then continued. We went for a couple more minutes and then something popped into my head and I asked her the same question. We ended up continuing and putting together a chunk of our Costco list while fucking. That's just called efficiency, baby. This is some of the best sex low-key. You have to be very close and very into each other for it to work. Called me Steve, that's not my name. Just keep going, then call her a different name back. Based on your profile name, are you sure? Clearly not Steve, but Scotty. Puked. We were in college, went up to her room, making out. She made the telltale noise of about to pray to the porcelain god, so we walked to the toilet and I held her hair. Once she was done, I reminded her to brush her teeth, tucked her in, then literally jogged home, blacked out on the way. 12 years later we were still friends and tried dating. We are 4 years into dating and have a cute doggo. Oh no, I've thrown up on my BF twice while going down on him and was so horrified and embarrassed even though he laughed it off, so I feel her pain. This is so sweet. My wife and I during many sexual encounters. She is weird. Like new girl TV show weird. We are getting into it. She is looking at me. Says my sister and I look a lot alike. Another time we were trying intimacy again after like a year of childbirth issues. And I'm playing with the tatas, and she says feels great, very different than when insert my son's name sucks on them. Getting into it, she grabbing my bottom. Then says I get my bottom from my mother. Lots of weird stuff like that. I'm fucking cracking up. In my head Zooey Deschanel is saying those things. My wife also has the same haircut, hair color, eye color, and fashion sense. It is indeed funny when she does things like this. Greater than we are getting into it. She is looking at me. Says my sister and I look a lot alike. This just awakened a memory in me. A friend of mine was having a party in his parents' house and I brought my new girlfriend, now ex. We looked pretty similar, dressed the same way, had the same hair color and a bunch of piercings, etc. After some drinks in, we were getting frisky in the guest bedroom and as I was grinding up against her she, for some unknown reason, decides to say hey, you know we could be brother and sister. I exclaimed aloud what the fuck? And started laughing, losing my boner in the process. There's no blood relation whatsoever, she just acknowledged that we look similar. Best part is that a friend of mine slept in the living room just outside of the bedroom we were in. He had heard my cry of confusion and asked me about it the day after, which led to him dying from laughter. We still banged though. Sorry Hugo, you probably heard that too. My corgi snuck up and licked my boyfriend's butt in the middle of us getting it on and he was quite upset about it. Lamau. My bull mastiff did that to me. A 125-pound dog's tongue in your ass is shocking. I still finished after getting him out of the room. Respect man, we were laughing way too hard. Best comment. Boyfriend and I were going at it. His mother called in the middle to let him know his father just passed. That sucks. He answered the phone mid-sex? I would not answer my mom's call mid-sex. Holy shit, I'm so sorry for his loss. Going down on my girlfriend. She starts getting really energetic. Bucking. Splits my lip. Started bleeding and swelling. I say, no, ith okay. Efethan ith ofe, wek v. C clamps are really handy tools my friend. On a date, this girl started telling me about when she'd had an infected boil on the back of her neck. It had kept leaking pus, and she'd smell it but didn't know where it was coming from for ages apparently. Sexy. You should have asked if it smelled like a Jolly Rancher. Sounds like something one would do when trying to sabotage a date. Shoved her tongue piercing in the end of my penis. On purpose. Without warning. I'm not a dude but this made me cringe down there. Just imagine something being put into your urethra. Same anatomical concept. I read that and thought oh nice, then read comments oh shit, her odds of success aren't that good. I had an ex that, during sex, said very loudly why are kissing like that? With an irritated face. I was kissing like I always had. Instant boner killer. Uck. I had someone tell me I wasn't kissing big enough, as if I wasn't intentionally trying to keep them from shoving their whole tongue down my throat. Uck. Kissing can definitely be weird, it's kinda like the more you think the more awkward it gets. Pooped when she came. The squirter you never hear about. Fucked the shit out of her. This girl just switched from her usual happy relaxed demeanor to an absolute dominatrix, took rough play a bit too seriously. Like a UFC debut seriously, attempted murder seriously or fight to the death seriously. Slapping me telling me I have a tiny cock and I'm a loser when all I said was do you like it rough? Girl had me in a fucking rear choke hold so bad I was tucking my chin as hard as I could to stop from blacking out. Needless to say my Johnson was not prepared for this sort of bout and tapped out within the first round. Went home with a girl after a night out. She was totally passive and I had to kinda do everything. When I asked why she was being so passive she said that she liked doing the starfish, meaning just laying there and letting the other person do everything. Super boring and nothing much happened after that. Plus she tasted bad down there. She actually named being useless in bed like a sex move. On a date he asked if he could do a load of laundry at my house. I said sure, no problem. He took a little nap between sexy times, so when it was time to transfer the clothes to the dryer I did it for him. I saw ladies' underwear and bikinis. He brought another woman's clothes to my house to wash. I really want to know where men get all this audacity. Did he say his sister's things got mixed in? So, I'm the guilty one here. To preface this, I have an odd sense of humor and find weird ways to amuse myself. One day I decided to put lube in a squirt gun. And then a few days later, my FWB and I were getting all hot and heavy, and right before we went to actually have sex she needed a little lube, as always, and I pulled the squirt gun from my nightstand and gave her a few squirts down there. I thought she'd find it vaguely funny. She did not. Not only was sexy time done for that night, a little while later she cut things off between us completely. She was very annoyed by that. Oops.